Hello, I'm Nidhi Kumar and welcome to the show. To understand HIV better, on this World AIDS Day, we take the opportunity to scientifically engage our society with one of the most important public health challenges of our times. With this in mind, our focus for today's conversation will be to deliberate upon the global and national advances in scientific and social achievements in the field of HIV. Our discussion will be around sharing the successes achieved in our collective fight against HIV and the road ahead for achieving a world free from HIV. We will discuss some of the scientific landmark milestones in the epidemic, the stellar role played by governments, the civil society, and the community in its control, and to highlight the challenges and plausible solutions to achieve our goal of HIV-free world. Today, I'm pleased to introduce in our studio two people who have been working tirelessly towards this cause in their different capacities. Our first speaker is Dr. Naresh Goyal. Dr. Naresh Goyal is the Deputy Director General at NACO, National AIDS Control Organization, and is in charge of IEC, Youth and Mainstreaming, including public-private partnerships for advancing the cause of HIV/AIDS control. Dr. Goyal graduated from Maulana Azad Medical College in the year 1978 as a MBBS and MD from the same college. He has extensive work in the field of public health with the government, NGOs, and United Nations agencies. He's also the project coordinator of Labs for Life Project, public-private partnership. We welcome you, sir.
Namaskar.
Our second speaker is Dr. Preeti Kumar, Vice President, Public Health Systems at Public Health Foundation of India. Dr. Preeti is an ophthalmologist by training with a master's degree in public health from the London School of Economics and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. She has extensive work experience with the government and non-government sector in the area of infectious diseases, including HIV. Welcome to the program, Preeti.
Thank you so much, Nidhi.
Thank you for joining us. So we'll start with, celebrating the end of an epidemic to some extent, at least, if I may say. So, Dr. Goyal, my question to you is, at NACO, you have actually provided the leadership to do away with this virus. Can you tell us more about how this virus has shaped out since its inception?
In fact, I like to tell the viewers that when we talk of HIV or AIDS, then we have to remember that what was happening nearly 3 decades ago. 3 decades ago, there was a panic. The word HIV was a death sentence. And the moment people used to hear AIDS, then they used to run around and maybe disappear from the scene and will not be seen anywhere. The scenario has changed totally now after 3 decades. A lot of work has gone to make this happen, and there were many challenges throughout this journey, but slowly from prevention, IEC, that is education and counseling, to treatment, we have been able to cover a lot of path.
And Dr. Preeti, if I may ask you, he just reflected upon the history of HIV in India. Actually, what is an HIV virus?
So, Nidhi, HIV is a retrovirus that gets into the body of an individual, and it can get through the body through unprotected sex, or it may be through unused or dirty needles and syringes. And when it affects, so these are unsafe practices, and when it gets into the body, this virus goes and actually attacks the very cells that are supposed to defend our body. And these are called the CD4 T lymphocytes.
That means our immune system.
Our immune system, absolutely. There, this virus actually destroys these immune cells, and so we have something called like a flu infection. But this infection, it may happen severe in some people and very mild in some people, and people soon forget about it. But the virus never really goes away, and it hides in some of these lymphocyte cells, and it waits there. And then after 10 to 15 years probably, this virus then again starts to multiply. And that is the time when the person gets the full-blown AIDS infection.
But how sensitive are we to finding out if a person has, this kind of virus, like you said?
Sure.
It is no longer a death sentence, as Sir pointed out. My question to you again is a sub-question of the previous one, is to how do I get to know if it's a flu, like you just mentioned, for the common man?
Absolutely. This is such a relevant question and goes back to what Dr. Goel mentioned just now. If people are aware of two things, they know something called HIV and they know that they have done some risky behavior. That is the time, so if a person is aware that he has indulged in risky behavior, that is unprotected sex or maybe using dirty needles and syringes, and he gets this infection. And that is the aim of our entire control strategy, that the person should then have a bell goes in his mind or her mind that probably this could be an infection, and he goes and gets treated and he goes sorry for the diagnosis of the infection.
Tell us about the social stigma surrounded, for this disease. How
Yes.
prevalent is it if we talk of 2019, if we talk of December?
Yeah, you raised a very right issue. In fact, when this HIV/AIDS disease came to India, people knew very soon that how it is going to spread. There are 4 routes only: sexual route, blood, infected needles, or mother to child. But the problem was, major problem was that they didn't know that how it does not spread. So there were many myths and misconceptions. And these myths and misconceptions led to the stigma and discrimination of people. So like by shaking hands, by hugging a person, by sharing the toilet, by sharing utensils of each other, it doesn't, one doesn't get infected by a person who is already infected with HIV. So by knowledge of these facts, the stigma can be reduced. But you asked, how relevant it is in 2019. So I'd like to tell you, though there has been a good progress in removing stigma and discrimination from the public, but still healthcare settings like doctors, nurses, schools, and when the children are studying there, in the communities, stigma is still prevalent and people are discriminated, and sometimes surgeries are not performed, sometimes pregnant ladies are not delivered due to this stigma. It is still there, but yes, we have come a long way, and there has been a lot of progress, I must say, due to our various guidelines, our progress, and in fact, recently an act also came which is taking care of stigma and discrimination.
As you rightly said, there has been stigma earlier and there is less of it now. We'll dwell a little more on stigma when we come back, but now we're going in for a short break. Stay tuned, keep watching a program on World AIDS Day.
India Science is an internet-based science TV channel initiated by the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, implemented and managed by Vigyan Prasar. India Science on the URL www.indiascience.in is a bilingual channel with content in Hindi and English. It can be accessed on any internet-enabled device. This video platform is dedicated to science and technology knowledge dissemination with a strong commitment to spreading scientific awareness, especially with Indian perspectives, ethos and cultural context. The India Science mobile app can be downloaded from the Google Play Store and Apple Store.
Welcome back, and you're watching a special discussion on World AIDS Day. So, Dr. Preeti, before the break, we were talking about stigma and discrimination. What would you like to add to what Sir has said as far as the field of stigma goes? Because there is indeed a lot of stigma if you look at the rural areas also in India.
Absolutely, Nidhi. As a public health person, I definitely feel that stigma is the single most important public health challenge if we have to bring an end to HIV. Stigma is, to use broadly, it's like an unofficial license for people to actually isolate and marginalize those very people who are already on the fringes of our society. So you would wonder who could these people be, and I would say literally the poor, a lot of poor people, and certain community groups such as sex workers, gay men, injecting drug users, who the society already has a level of intolerance. They are the people who are most vulnerable. But to add to that, actually everybody is at risk. Anybody who indulges in behavior which is risky is vulnerable to HIV. You could be in adolescents. Even in the occupational sector, doctors, as much as the health workers stigmatize, they themselves are vulnerable to getting the HIV infection. Mothers, pregnant mothers, women in legal monogamous marriages, if they get their infections from their husbands, and most important are the children who get the HIV infection from their infected mothers. So stigma is pervasive. It affects a very broad population of people, but it is all around us.
As you said, the marginalized section and the vulnerable section, I'd like you to add to this, Dr. Goel. How do you feel about people who come to in the hospital with life-threatening disease, HIV, whenever you do these kind of studies at NACO? What is the reaction? What are the symptoms when they come? Is it worse? Is it near fatal?
You have raised a very important issue that when people come, because for many years HIV disease remains asymptomatic. So asymptomatic means there are no symptoms and people themselves do not come to know whether they have the disease or not. And they appear very normal, so like you and me, so they will be absolutely normal. So it is difficult to say by looking at them, or they also do not realize that they have the disease. So when they come to start having the problems, which we generally call opportunistic infections, because the immune system has gone down and it's failing. So other infections like tuberculosis, like pneumonia, like fungal infections, some skin diseases, diarrhea, fever, they start taking over. And when these things happen, and when the person finally comes to the hospital, by that time the immune system has deteriorated to a large extent, and from there onwards the journey of treatment does start, but most of the time it's quite late in the day. Therefore, if a person is diagnosed HIV, immediately the treatment should be started so that the immune system can be preserved and rather can be made better by the medicines that are available now.
Which takes about, say, 3 to 4 months, something like that. Immediate, that is the target period. Dr. Preeti, linked to this is a scientific research milestone. He spoke of symptoms. So, if you talk of research and science, what does it add to? Are there any specific milestones?
Sure. So, HIV has been one public health challenge for the entire global community, where the intensity and the ferocity of the epidemic has actually in some way been matched by the response of the scientific community. I mean, it was 81 when people actually began to realize that the first HIV infection had begun to be identified. And very soon people could actually isolate the virus. Soon after that, they found out what is the diagnosis, and then the first antiretroviral drugs came into the picture. So I think the journey has been just marvelous. The scientific discoveries have in some way kept match with the way the epidemic actually progressed. So today what we have is we know the diagnosis. We need to get the people to come forward whenever they feel that they are at risk or they suspect that they might have HIV, to come in for a very quick diagnosis across 30,000 facilities across the country, if you're talking about us in India. That is a huge number across public health facilities, in our all laboratories in the public sector, private sector, in district hospitals, medical colleges. The second one is the treatment. As Dr. Goel mentioned, we catch them very late. So the sooner we can get the people on the treatment, they are going to lead almost healthy and almost the normal lifespan as a normal individual. So that's great. The third discovery that has actually happened is we can do a little bit of prevention. I would like to pause here and say we don't have a cure for HIV, but nevertheless it is treatable. People can and do respond if they are caught sufficiently on time and they are put on treatment and they take their drugs very, very regularly. They are going to be healthy and they're going to have normal lifespans.
Great. So science has finally moved from the labs and into our homes. But I'd like to ask you, sir, Dr. Goel, what does the data say? What kind of figures are we looking at in 2019? Say from when it started 3 decades back?
Yeah, data is very positive. I will say that earlier the prevalence, which used to be 0.4%, has come down to 0.22%, and
nearly more than half.
Yeah,
Literally
and
half.
the number of people right now which who are having HIV is estimated to be 21.4 lakhs. The important data is that from the peak of infection, the new infections have come down by 80%, and the AIDS-related deaths have come down by nearly 70%. So this is very, very important, and this is from the peak of it, like it was in 2005 when we had the peak of AIDS-related deaths. So it has come down by 70%. So now we are having nearly 88,000 new infections every year and nearly 69,000 AIDS-related deaths every year, which is very less than the number was 2 lakhs or something like that. So, and globally, this reduction is better than the global averages. So India has a
So
better
globally,
reduction.
internationally, if you look at it, are we getting complacent in India? Is that so? I mean, do we look at figures anymore, or do we think, all right, we've done enough? What is your take on
Some
that?
impression is there among the community at large, especially among the decision makers, that probably HIV is over and we have done enough for HIV, and there are competing priorities, of course, and the other diseases are being taken care of. But if we leave HIV disease at this stage, then there is every chance that it will come up again, and the success that we have been able to achieve over a period of time will go waste. So it is the time, rather, we cannot afford to be complacent, and we have to be more vigilant, and we have to see the 4 lakh number of patients, estimated people who will be having HIV, where are they? We have not been able to detect these 4 lakh people as of now. So these people need to come forward. They have to shed their stigma and come for testing so that their treatment can be started, so that they do not pass the infection to others, number one, and they do not get themselves the kind of disease they will be otherwise having, and they can live a normal healthy life by taking the treatment, which of course, as I was told earlier, is lifelong treatment right now. And there are simple medicines now, once a day pill, 1 pill a day, simple as that. So people should come forward and try to get themselves tested so that they know their status, and once they are found to be HIV positive, they should start treatment, and they should be adherent to the treatment. They should continuously take it for lifelong.
Absolutely. We need to trace them out first, as you mentioned. And on this note, we'll go in for a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on HIV and AIDS when we come back.
India Science is an internet-based science TV channel initiated by the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, implemented and managed by Vigyan Prasar. India Science on the URL www.indiascience.in is a bilingual channel with content in Hindi and English. It can be accessed on any internet-enabled device. This video platform is dedicated to science and technology knowledge dissemination with a strong commitment to spreading scientific awareness, especially with Indian perspectives, ethos and cultural context. The India Science mobile app can be downloaded from the Google Play Store and Apple Store.
Welcome back, and we're in conversation with two very distinguished people, and we're talking on World AIDS Day and how we end the epidemic. So Dr. Preeti, sir just mentioned a little bit about the data and the figures and how we could, put an end to this epidemic. What are your views on the social front? Because a lot needs to be done, many milestones need to be achieved on the social story.
HIV has been one epidemic that has really brought to the forefront that people are at the center of the problem as well as its treatment and cure. And there has been an enormous amount of social revolution, so to speak, in the area of HIV. Literally, if I can talk about, there have been numerous innovations. What really began as a social silence, people didn't want to talk about it. They were hesitant to even say the word. People know about HIV, but they do not want to know who has HIV. So the whole movement from social silence to social action has actually been one of the features of HIV epidemic. The other thing is that the connectivity, yes, the government is there to provide the diagnosis and the treatment, but how do we reach out to them? And so the community itself, the society itself and those people who were engaged with it became the last mile connectivity with the people with HIV. And therefore, from peer to peer, they actually reached out and said, I know a few people who may have HIV, and sort of reeled them into the program. The third thing was when people actually get HIV, it's a devastation for them. They are absolutely devastated by the diagnosis. However much the doctor might tell them that there is treatment and you've been diagnosed and you're going to be fine, and they need a lot of comfort and psychosocial support. So one of the things was that the community set up community care centers so that people who were diagnosed, that's a clinical diagnosis, the doctor gives the drugs. But how to do about the nutrition, what about the job, what about employment, how to support them psychologically, what about their jobs, what about their family? So that became a sort of a social revolution where people got together to support each other. So these have been some of the social revolutions that have happened in HIV.
Great. On this note, I'd like to ask you, Dr. Goel, what happens to the challenges? How do you look at challenges in the government? Are you able to monitor all hospitals and get all the data as to how many patients have actually registered there? The logistics.
Regarding logistics, we do not have much of a challenge because of a whole system that we have is a computerized system of data collection. That is what we call is a management information system. So strategic information management system. So therefore, there is not much of a problem as far as data collection is concerned. What we know from the estimated number of people, I already told also that nearly 4 lakh people do not know their status. We have to basically find them and get them tested so that they know their status and they can get their treatment started. There are, as I told you, computerized systems, so monthly reports we get. Now we are moving towards a real-time data system also, which will take another 6 months, and will be equipped with a real-time data system. When from the aggregated data that we have right now, it will be a case-based data. So any person who is coming to the system, the recording will be there, and whatever the testing is being done on that person, whatever treatment that person is taking, whether the treatment is effective or not, like a CD4 test that we do, viral load testing that we do, what are the results of that, whether the person requires the same regimen, the treatment, or the treatment needs to be changed. All these reports will be available to the treating physicians on the click of a button, and they are already there. But right now it's slightly manual, slightly computerized.
It will get speeded up.
It will be definitely speeded up.
So, Dr. Preeti, there is a very thin line, I feel, between TB and HIV. Could you please elucidate?
As a medical doctor, of course, I would say that they are absolutely two different things. One is a viral infection, tuberculosis is a bacterial infection. Nevertheless, they are inextricably linked when we see them together, because TB is the most common infection that people with HIV actually get, and also the most important reason for their death. So, to that extent, TB and HIV are very closely linked, and people with TB also have a higher risk of getting HIV. So because of this, HIV and TB are very closely linked in the government program, and our aim is to make sure that anybody who comes to take diagnosis for HIV is simultaneously also diagnosed for tuberculosis and vice versa.
So these were our ideas on how we perceive disease and illness. It has forced the world to come up with solutions for tackling the disease. However, there is a lot to be done. And on that note, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you,
on
Nidhi.
this wonderful World AIDS Day telecast and program and discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
you.
Nidhi.
And to all our viewers, let us today take a pledge to unite in the fight against HIV, to show support for people living with HIV. And on that note, many thanks for watching. We hope you liked our program. Don't forget to share your views and suggestions on the given email ID. Until then, goodbye. Namaskar.